Now, during your research process, you want to get familiar with all the different types of equipment available to reef hobbyists. Now, the aquarium sump is a very important piece of equipment. Think of this as the heart or home of the filter system of your tank. A larger sump is going to give you more space to house a proper sized protein skimmer, to house your media reactors such as a biopellet reactor and a phosphate media reactor. It's going to give space to put your heater, your return pumps. They may be submersible or external, but you want space in the sump for any submersible pumps you need to run. Your sump will also house filter socks. That's important. Mechanical filtration, because filter socks will collect waste from the water and help you to remove the larger particles of waste. So a good quality sump is well worth the investment. And again, think of something bigger the better with the sump. It's worth having that extra space. You'll always be glad that you have it as you progress with the hobby. You'll also need to think about a protein skimmer. This is a very important part of equipment. Protein skimmers remove dissolved organic waste from the aquarium by shooting a mixture of air and salt water into the chamber, creating a reaction, and the foam or dissolved waste collects in the collection cup at the top of the protein skimmer. So getting a good quality skimmer is very important because it can reduce the need for such frequent water changes. You want to think about the types of reactors you might run in the aquarium. You could use a reactor for ROAPHOS, which will help keep your phosphates down, something to run your phosphate media. You could also consider biopellets. If you have trouble with nitrates, a biopellet reactor can help to reduce nitrates and even phosphates as well. Now, pumps. You'll need a return pump, which will pump the water from the back of the nanocube into the front, or from your aquarium sump into the aquarium. The return pump should cycle the volume of the aquarium about 10 to 15 times an hour. So you want to think about the type of pump. Ideally, most customers want a quiet pump, so think about that. And then think about buying a good quality pump. Remember, this is the thing keeping your livestock alive by circulating the water. So using a good quality pump is well worth the investment. In fact, a lot of hobbyists will actually use two pumps so they have redundancy. If one main pump was to fail, they have another running as backup to keep everything alive. You also want to consider the flow within the aquarium. Depending on the type of corals or livestock you want to keep, depends how much flow you'll need. So something like a controllable power head, like this Ecotech MP10, is nice because it can create changing currents within the aquarium simply like you have in the ocean. In the ocean, you're not having flow always from one direction at one time. You have changing, varying currents. And this makes the fish and corals a lot more happy. They feel more natural. It's a more natural environment for them. Think about the lighting. Most common types of lighting available are metal halide, T5, or LED. My top choice now is LEDs, mainly because they're controllable. You don't have to replace the bulbs every 12 months or so. You can vary the intensity and the color of the light output, but T5s, metal halides, are still great options, although they put out more heat. So going with an LED fixture can actually help you reduce the heat into the aquarium and reduce the chance of needing an aquarium chiller. Now, an aquarium chiller allows you to cool the water if the water in the tank gets too hot. You may or may not need this depending on how hot your aquarium runs. I recommend most hobbyists don't buy a chiller when you're starting out. See how the temperature of the tank runs during the cycling process. If it's constantly running too hot, you may want to add a cooling fan to blow across the tank or a chiller to keep the water cool. Now also, you'll need a heater to prevent the tank from cooling down too much at night. Obviously, the tank gets hotter during the day when the light has been on, but at night the light is off, the temperature of your house usually is cooler, so the tank tends to cool. You don't want it to cool too much because you need to keep the temperature of the water within a 2-degree range. So always need an aquarium heater as well. You also want to consider the type of rock you're going to use in the setup. Do you want to use live rock, or do you want to use a synthetic man-made rock like Real Reef or the Carib Sea Life Rock? These are good options. In fact, the hobby, I think, is progressing more and more towards man-made rock. That's what we use in our big 800-gallon tank. With that type of rock, you're not bringing in any unwanted parasites like you could with live rock. Also with sand, think about the size and type of sand. Do you want very small, fine sand, something in between like the Fiji Pink that we use, or larger, coarser sand? I recommend Fiji Pink or something moderate grain size, 1 to 2 millimeters. It's not too fine, it'll get blown around, but also it's going to be easy for gobies and things to sift and keep clean. Another thing to consider in terms of equipment is the ATO, or automatic top-off system, that will allow you to top off the water that evaporates from the tank. Now obviously any aquarium saltwater tank, as it's running, you're going to have water evaporate, which means the salinity of the remaining water is increasing. You need to have or add fresh RODI water to the aquarium to keep the salinity constant. An ATO includes usually a small pump with a float level that goes on your sump or the back of your nanocube, and as water evaporates, it'll trigger that float and fill the aquarium with RODI water back to the right level, which keeps salinity constant. This is also especially useful if you travel. You can go 4, 5, 6 days, a week or two, and you have your aquarium topped off automatically. So it's definitely a worthwhile piece of equipment to have. Now, another thing to consider as you progress with the hobby is an aquarium controller, something like the Neptune Apex system. These can be set up to actually monitor your aquarium, to even send you text alerts if the temperature swings out of line, or if a pH swings out of line, the salinity fluctuates, can help save a big investment. So consider aquarium controller is definitely a useful piece of equipment at some point as well.